Welcome back to Limitless Mentality, where we discuss profound psychological truths to help you improve your life. Today we're diving into a topic that most people never even realize is happening: how people control you without saying a word. From subtle body language to silent expectations, this kind of control doesn't come from shouting or demanding. It's quiet, sneaky, and incredibly powerful. And if you don't learn to recognize it, you might find yourself living someone else's life without ever knowing why. Sometimes a single glance can change your whole behavior. Think about a time you were about to say something, and someone raised their eyebrow or gave you a disapproving look. Without a word, you stopped talking or changed your tone. That's not just a reaction, it's control. Psychologists call this nonverbal conditioning. Over time, your brain associates certain facial expressions with approval or rejection, and you start adjusting your behavior automatically. It's the same way a dog learns not to jump on the couch after enough stern looks. Humans do it too. And it works especially well in families, classrooms, and relationships, where power dynamics are already in play. You ever walk into a room and feel like you're supposed to act a certain way, even if nobody says it out loud? That's not your imagination. People set invisible standards through tone, energy, and routine. Maybe your parents never told you to become a doctor, but every time you mentioned a different path, they went quiet or changed the subject. That silence, it speaks louder than words. Over time, these unspoken rules mold your identity. You think you're making free choices, but really, you're just avoiding that awkward silence or that disappointed sigh. One of the most powerful silent control tactics is emotional withholding. This happens when someone pulls away affection, support, or even basic kindness when you don't do what they want. It's not loud, but it's incredibly effective. You suddenly feel unsure, anxious, and desperate to fix something. The message is clear. If you want love or peace, do what I want. This kind of control happens a lot in romantic relationships and families. And the worst part? It often feels like your fault, even though the manipulation is completely one-sided. You don't need a guilt trip speech to feel guilty. Sometimes it's the heavy silence after you say no, or the way someone avoids eye contact after you disappoint them. That quiet tension makes you question yourself. It makes you want to fix things, even if you didn't do anything wrong. This is called passive guilt induction. It's a form of emotional control that doesn't require yelling or blaming. Just a pause, a sigh, a look. It's especially damaging because it can make you think you're the problem, when in reality, you're being manipulated into obedience. Microexpressions are the tiny facial movements people make in a split second, like a quick smirk and eye roll or a twitch of the mouth. These happen so fast you might not consciously notice them, but your brain does. If you share an idea and someone barely smirks before saying, "That's interesting," your confidence drops. If they briefly look annoyed when you talk about something you love, you second-guess it. These tiny signals guide your emotions without you realizing why, and over time, they shape your confidence, your voice, and even what you believe about yourself. Sometimes, people don't respond at all, and that's the whole point. Silence can feel incredibly loud when it's deliberate. If someone gives you the cold shoulder, ignores your message, or stays quiet in a moment when support would matter most, that silence sends a message. I disapprove, and I'm in control. This tactic forces you to reflect, apologize, or change your behavior just to get back into their good graces. Strategic silence is especially manipulative because it makes you do all the emotional work while the other person says nothing and stays in power. It sounds strange, but just being in the room can be a form of control. Have you ever felt like you had to work harder, speak less, or act more together just because someone else entered the room? That's not about paranoia. It's about dominance energy. Certain people project a kind of presence that makes you shrink. They don't need to talk. Their body language, posture, and focus say, "I'm in charge." And if you're not aware of it, you'll start molding your behavior around them without ever being asked. This one's sneaky because it feels like connection. When someone mirrors your posture, speech, or behavior, it creates trust. You feel seen and understood. But skilled manipulators use this technique to build fast intimacy and gain influence. Once you trust them, they shift things subtly. Maybe they stop mirroring you and start leading instead. Now you're mirroring them. That switch flips the power dynamic, and you start following their lead without knowing how it happened. It's a classic tactic in sales, negotiations, and even toxic friendships. Where someone chooses to sit, stand, or move around you says a lot. Sit too close, and it can make you nervous or submissive. Stand too far, and it can signal disapproval or rejection. Skilled people know how to use space to manipulate feelings. A boss might lean in to pressure you. A friend might physically pull away when you say something they don't like. These small movements create a sense of emotional tension or urgency, nudging you to adjust your behavior to make things feel normal again. Even without direct insults or critiques, some people create an energy that makes you feel constantly judged. Maybe they're always just observing, or they don't react much when you talk. Maybe they stay super composed while you open up, making you feel exposed or ridiculous. That quiet judgment isn't in what they say. It's in what they don't say. You start editing yourself around them. You share less. You doubt more. And slowly, your self-expression fades. Not because someone told you to change, but because their silent disapproval made you feel like you had to. Some of the most powerful forms of control aren't loud or obvious. They live in silence, subtlety, and the way our brains are wired to seek connection and avoid rejection. When you learn to recognize these quiet tactics, you reclaim your freedom. You stop dancing around unspoken rules, and you start living from a place of self-awareness, not silent pressure. The more you notice the control that doesn't speak, the more power you take back in your own life. Have you ever changed your behavior just because of a look or a silent reaction? What's one subtle form of control you've experienced that really stuck with you? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you recognized it. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more eye-opening insights. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and stay limitless.